Hey guys, welcome back to the Giovanni Show. Today we have on my lovely friend, Sam Stafford. What is up? It's been so long.
So long, man. And we were just talking. I've known you since you were 12 years old. That's when we first met. Jess and I met you when we were doing Babes on Broad. And it's just crazy. It's so fun to watch your journey, all your social media ventures. It's just been so fun. And now you're looking to even broaden it with college. Like, what? I can't believe it, Gio.
I mean, and you with NBC now? I mean, it's crazy. It's
I
crazy.
know. Fun.
So,
I know. I've been hopping all around, but that's
yeah.
this industry.
Oh, today, I mean, we have so much to talk about with this team. I mean, what a crazy game we just watched. I mean, you look at a guy like Verse who came out and said, he hates Philadelphia, he hates these fans, he couldn't hear us. He hears us now. So I think it's time to grease the poles, Philadelphia, because we're going for it. We're going for it now.
Oh man, it is so fun. We're already like all week have been prepping for like where we're gonna be. Like you gotta make sure you're close enough to Broad Street, blah blah blah. So it's really fun. But yeah, that last game, man, I think that's one thing when we talk about the Commanders, we'll kind of get more into it. But like when you're doing like your comparisons looking into this week, a lot of people are like, well, like the Eagles passing last week, blah blah blah. The Eagles offensive line didn't look so good. I feel like we're at the advantage because most teams can't judge the Eagles off of last week because of all that snow that came into effect and everything. You heard AJ Brown saying he couldn't get footing. You saw Devontae Smith sliding around out there. Even Saquon with the incredible performance that he had, he was falling in the backfield. So, like, I feel like we're at the advantage because nobody can really look at the film and judge that. But you did mention Jared Verse. Obviously, what he said about Eagles fans is what he said. He definitely heard them, even though if he wants to say that he didn't. But I will give him credit because his like mental game had to be strong because he did play really well, especially for a rookie. So he's going to be a top talent. And I was really impressed with how he dealt with all that backlash in the moment.
Yeah, I mean, but tell Philly you can't hear him, you're gonna hear something. So, I
You're
mean,
going to
that's
hear him even if you do anything, you're going to hear Philly.
yeah, exactly. And I mean, him talking to Jalen Carter after or before the game, and then Jalen Carter getting that sack on Matthew Stafford just made it so, just
Right.
sealed the deal right there. So that was so fun to watch. But going forward, you talked about, the Commanders and not having a whole lot of film. What do the Eagles need to do to beat the Commanders? I mean, obviously having a rough game with the snow. I mean, I think, like you said, it's got to give us some sort of advantage. So, I mean, but going against this young Commanders team that has been doing so phenomenal this year, I mean, it's going to be hard.
Yeah, I mean, going against any team for the third time in one season is like nerve-wracking. Like, not by any means am I feeling comfortable going into this game, but I do think obviously the Eagles have the upper hand, right? You're seeing a lot of national media, depending on the market, choosing the Commanders because of Jalen Hurts and his passing game. That's what you hear all week, right? Is Jalen Hurts, can he get it done? He's the target, blah, blah, blah. We've known this since when, Gio? Week one, that Saquon has been absolutely lights out and that Jalen's not going to throw unless you force him to throw. We've known that all year long, and still people cannot stop Saquon Barkley because he's Saquon Barkley, right? So that's obviously going to be the biggest part. And Saquon's had, I think it was like over 140 rushing yards both times that he played the Commanders. So they obviously knew that second time as well that Saquon was getting the ball and they still couldn't stop him. So that's going to be fun this week. But obviously you have to look at that passing game. You got to know. We'll see more. Obviously, it's just Wednesday, so the first day of really practicing and the guys in on the field today. But we'll see more of how Jalen's knees going because obviously that helped him last week with his rushing ability, and we'll see if that's going to be any hindrance. But I really think that this is going to be the game where obviously we see Saquon do Saquon, but Jalen's also going to come out and he's going to start hitting guys like AJ because AJ, like he's been so quiet, right? That's a weird thing that AJ Brown being quiet in the playoffs. He's due. You got Devontae Smith, and then Dallas Goedert has looked really good since he's come back. So I think this week we're going to see a big performance from Jalen and Saquon. I think everybody's kind of going to connect into this offense, and I'm really excited for it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. That was actually my next question is, if you're Nick Sirianni, how are you integrating AJ more into this offense this week?
Well, that is one thing that kind of was a hindrance last week, right? It was the snow. So it was kind of harder to work that passing game in there. Jalen obviously hurt his knee, so you saw him take the safety. It was questionable on that play calling with Kellen Moore and Nick Sirianni. But Yeah, I mean, Nick Sirianni, I think obviously he's turned things around since the beginning of the season, right? Because everybody was like, Nick, what's even his job? Blah, blah, blah. But whatever he's doing well. I do want to see a little bit more creativity. I want to see them not scared to just shove the ball with Saquon down the Commander's throat, because there was a couple times towards the end of the game there. It was like 2nd and 6 or something, and you saw them pass the ball, and obviously it was incomplete and it didn't work. But it was like, why not run the clock there? You were leading. So just the questionable things there, I think they can tighten up. Obviously, again, last week, can't judge too much with that weather. But yeah, they just have to come out, and I think they will. I think the team is very connected and for each other. So I think they're going to come out, and Nick Sirianni is going to, and Kellen Moore are going to be spreading the ball, spreading the wealth to everybody.
Yeah, I agree. I think AJ, he needs it after, I mean, just continuous beef that the media is starting to spread about these guys each and every year. It's just getting so repetitive, and I mean AJ is so tired of it. So I mean, if we can have a good AJ game going into the Super Bowl, having no animosity created from the media, I mean that would be perfect. So
I do want to give him his props though, because he's taken this so well. Like AJ Brown on any team would be a mega superstar. Like he's one of the top 5 best receivers in the league, maybe even top 3. And he's really just adapted to this team role guy. And I'm slightly surprised because the media does portray him like he's trying to be a diva, but now we're seeing it more and more. He's really just a guy that wants to win and is there for his team. And it's really awesome that he has been so accepting and so like hurrah, like cheering on Saquon as well instead of being jealous, which is easy for a lot of guys with that talent.
yeah, and I mean, you hit Smitty with an out route, you hit him with a slant, whatever the case may be. AJ gets a block. I mean, he's going to be just as happy about that. Smitty, once AJ
Exactly.
gets a block in any play, it's pretty much over from there. If Smitty can make a play out of it, that's honestly my game plan for this week is
I
integrate
like it.
more of those slants, those out routes to
Yeah.
Smitty. Let AJ get those blocks. I mean, he's built like a linebacker for a reason. So.
I love it. And also, we've talked about Jalen's passing game, and that's one of the things is that Jalen doesn't get the ball out fast enough. So, incorporating some of those slants, to your point, is exactly what you do, at least in the beginning of the game, too, to start getting that confidence. Let him release quick, let him get that view and how it feels, kind of thing. So, it would be the perfect tone setter.
Yeah, I cannot wait. Hopefully Nick Sirianni's listening to this and he's taking my ideas. So,
Yeah, there you go.
so the Eagles, if they win, third time going to the Super Bowl in 10 years. I mean, people have waited years and years and years. There's so many people who are elderly who are like, I wish I would have seen this in my youth. And I mean, we're seeing it in our early days, luckily. So I mean, going forward, if the Eagles get it done, I mean, like I said, third time in 10 years. But at the beginning of the season, we saw ugly stinkers like Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was there for the Tampa game, blowout. I mean, these guys have used this though to their advantage. I think they've used Nick Sirianni's job being threatened as kind of a motivator. So I want to ask you, being so close to Philly and being so close to that team, do you think it's really set the tone for these guys going forward? And do you think it's going to just continue to fuel them going forward into this week as well?
Oh, for sure. And I think that's one of the things you've been seeing, right? That's why the Chiefs have so much success. I mean, obviously, brilliant minds like Andy Reid and the talent of Patrick Mahomes, but their off field and on field chemistry are such a big, huge factor with that team. And we saw it with the 2018 team, especially the 2022 team for the Eagles that you mentioned. And it's just such an important part and recipe for this. And I think exactly what you mentioned, the adversity that they went through, not only the beginning of this year, but the end of last year, because a lot of these playmakers are the same talented guys that we had last year that went through the end of the season like they did that fall off. And they came in with new coordinators. Everybody expected them kind of to go slow, but it was a little slower than we wanted, right? But the adversity that they went through and facing the media, like Philly always has to face the media and tell people that they're dramatic and over exaggerating and people coming at their coach. And hear me out, there was a point there I was a little harsh on Nick Sirianni. I think we all were, but I think that really does just connect the team because it really feels like Philly versus everybody, us versus everybody, you know? And that is such a huge thing that we're seeing with these recent Super Bowl winners is the chemistry that that team has going into it.
Yeah, and I honestly, it truly is us against the world. I mean, we've
Always.
seen it every week. I mean, we go into that first round wild card weekend, we're just hearing, the Packers are going to give the Eagles the belt. Then it's, the Rams are going to give the Eagles the belt. Now it's the Commanders are going to give the Eagles the belt. But these guys are too driven to take a loss to the Commanders at this point, in my opinion.
Well, and Gio, every time you hear that, it's always Jalen can't do it. Jalen can't do it. These people forget that when Jalen needed to do it in that Super Bowl back in 2022, he beat Patrick Mahomes. He was the best player on the field. He like had over 500 total yards. So it's just so annoying. And like you have to wonder, like obviously they try to block it out as much as they can, but they have to hear this stuff and it has to motivate them because how often can you hear like you can't do it, you can't do it? And props to Jalen. We know that he's got a great head on his shoulders, but like he literally is just like, I'll do it when I need to. I don't need to do it. Yeah, blah, blah, blah. And I truly believe that when he's needed to do it, he will do it.
Yeah, and I think everyone needs to give Jalen his flowers for, I mean, this year alone, hearing all the criticism of him not being able to get the ball out quick enough. He's been working on that and improving so much. And also, a lot of people aren't talking about the fact that at the beginning of the season, everyone's screaming, Jalen doesn't know how to slide. He doesn't know when to get down. He's always fighting for these yards.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if you go back and watch the film from last week, this guy's sliding perfectly. I mean, a lot of people
Beautiful. Yeah.
aren't. I mean, nobody's talking about this, and I feel like they need to. I mean, Jalen never gets the recognition that he will deserve, and I don't think he ever will until he's at a Patrick Mahomes level.
Yeah. Well, even Patrick Mahomes, that's what's so frustrating about it. I think it was Victor over there at oh, what is it? Philly. I forget what they call it, Philly Sports Pod or something like that. But Victor put it up and it was the comparison. Literally, Patrick Mahomes stats from last week, Jalen Hurts, exact, like almost exact identical stats from last week. And all you heard about is Patrick Mahomes, so great, Chiefs going back, blah, blah, blah. Jalen, it's he didn't do enough. And it's like, where is this like misconnection here with the media? It's just like so much clear bias towards Philly. And unfortunately for Jalen, he's taken it head on. Fortunately for us, we have a guy like Jalen that's able to take it head on.
Yeah, and I mean, something that I've been talking about all throughout the playoffs is we had to lose against the Patriots to win against them in the Super Bowl. So
Yep.
maybe this is history repeating itself. We had to lose against the Chiefs to win against them this year. So maybe it's history repeating itself. No one's talking about that either. So when it happens, you heard it here first, guys.
I honestly have been thinking that everybody's asking me if the Eagles do succeed, because you don't want to jinx them, but
Yep.
if they do succeed in advance to the Super Bowl, would you rather the Bills or rather the Chiefs? And I love the Bills fan base. So I do think it would be so fun just to have like the fan bases going against each other in that game. But there is that part of me, Gio, that wants the Chiefs just
Yeah.
because that's exactly how I was thinking is like 2004 we lost to them and we got our vengeance in 2018 and now I'm like 2022 we're getting our vengeance now. So
Yeah, and Chiefs fans are talking about, oh, it's our three-peat year. To mess that up for them would be such a Philly thing.
oh it would
I,
be.
oh my gosh, I can't wait. I
And
can't wait.
especially with, yeah, just with all the negative things we hear about Philly, for them to pull it off would be amazing, especially against the Chiefs.
It's these thoughts that gives me sleepless nights out of excitement. Like,
I have been so unsettled all week, Gio, because I couldn't sleep Sunday. I was so excited. I couldn't get to sleep until like 2 a.m. And then since Monday, just like, I think it's the anger because I'm just getting frustrated hearing all the national media and everybody like, Jalen, blah, blah, blah. We want to see the Commanders in there. And I'm like, no, like nobody wants to see this.
yeah,
It's just so many different factors and it's got me grinding my gears.
I had to turn off NFL Network. I was like, I can't hear this slander anymore.
Yeah, well, surprisingly, the whole cast of like ESPN, they put out their early picks and they had, I think, maybe 10 guys, and 9 out of 10 people chose the Eagles. Surprisingly, that's the
Yeah,
only platform that I've seen like national media take the Eagles. Granted,
yeah.
like Colleen Wolfe and them are on that panel, so obviously that's a Philly girl. But yeah, it actually surprised me.
Yeah. So my last question for you, obviously we talked about Saquon a lot on this show, but I mean, going from a super tough uh New York Giants team to the Philadelphia Eagles, the culture that he has brought to this team, it just seems like everyone has a better head on their shoulders. What do you think going forward into this game is the mentality for these guys?
Oh man, I really just think that it's like the band of brothers. Like they truly are there for one another. And a big piece of that is we've seen Jalen just always be a great leader, but Saquon, you really saw it like go up when Saquon got here. And we saw it in the one of the games that was it the Giants in earlier in the season when they took him out early just because they were like, hey, do you mind if Gainwell goes in? So just like situations like that where he's like, no, let him get his, let him eat. Ended up biting him at the end of the year because he could have been even closer to that record. But it just shows how selfless he is. And that's something I really think he brought to this team for everybody is be selfless. It's not about, it's as cliche as it sounds, it's not about the name on your jersey. It matters if the Philadelphia Eagles are in the storybooks for the Super Bowl champions, you know? And I think that's something really special that not a lot of guys obviously have. And Saquon does. And he brought it to the whole team.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we love you, Saquon, and we hope that you retire as an Eagle one day. So
Oh, hopefully.
this is where he wants to be. So
I know. I hope he's an Eagle for life now. That would be
yeah.
awesome. He's a hometown guy anyway. He's only from like an hour and a half, maybe
Yeah.
north of
Penn
Philly.
State
So
guy too. So I mean,
exactly.
keep him in the state. Let's keep it going.
Did you see how funny it was? He had a couple former teammates from the Giants, like Daniel Jones and them, in his box at this past Eagles game, which is
Did he really?
hilarious for the Giants. Yeah, Daniel Jones was in his box,
Oh
like
my
cheering him on.
gosh.
Yeah, isn't that hilarious? Like the Giants have to just be like,
Yeah.
gosh,
Oh my
because
gosh,
they
I
are
would
just
be
a
too.
disaster. Yeah, but it's an awesome story for us, not for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, no. I love it. And I just want to say thank you so much for coming on today. And talking
Of
birds.
course.
Where can everyone find you on social media?
So right now I'm just doing social media content, Bet Parks, and then also my own personal one at Sam Staff with three F's on Instagram, and then or no, on Twitter with three F's, and then on Instagram at Sam Staff Official. Got those two confused there.
It's all right. We look forward to seeing you in the future on the show. And like I said, thank you for coming on.
Of course, I can't wait to watch UGO and watch the Eagles and see everything that happens these next couple weeks, and hopefully it's really fun and awesome.
Going to New Orleans, I need them to be there too. We
You
need them.
need it. We need it. They will be.